Welcome to Money Mondays. This is Noctula. Happy Africa Day to everyone. I hope you can all hear me clearly and that you can see me clearly as well. I know probably a lot of you are just going to watch this on replay because I do know that it's bank holiday in England and it's Africa Day as well. So I know a lot of us are out there celebrating. So just to give you a recap, in case you don't know who I am, my name is Noctula. And as you know, I love to talk about all things related to money. And the reason I like to do that is because I see money as a source of freedom. It's all about financial empowerment, us empowering ourselves as the African community. I don't believe that a person should have to work 60 hours a week, and be in that space where you're never home to see your children. You can't even take a holiday. I don't think that's what it's about. And I've always believed that there really has to be a way out. I'm a parent, as some of you may already know. And what I believe in is legacy building. And so what that means for me is that as I'm working, I'm looking to build a legacy for my child and my children and the generations that are going to come after us. The Jews are already doing it. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. So why should we be left behind? And to be honest with you, it makes sense. If you're poor and you die poor or you're living in rented accommodation, what do you leave your children? You just leave your children in that situation where basically they on the other end as well, they're just going to be somebody else's tenant. It's 2020. Ladies, we have to do way better than that. And that's why we have these conversations. These conversations are supposed to empower us and to expose us to what else is going on out there. Like I've said to you in the past, I've been in situations where had a lot of money and situations where the money wasn't so great and I've had to rebuild. So I can relate with everybody at every different stage that we've been in life. So what I'd like to talk to you today about is a new topic, really. It's still related to money, but it's a new topic. And this is really about a new system of money that was born in 2008. It was proposed as an idea, and it was proposed as a written document, what is called a white paper. Now, this particular system of money was officially sold in 2011 as tender for the first time for $1. And then in 2017, its value exceeded that of gold. And then today, it's $8,860. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, in case you missed it, I'm talking about Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin was first introduced, or when the idea came up, there was a written document, like I mentioned, which was called a white paper. A guy or people using the name of Satoshi Nakamoto, I believe, I hope I've pronounced it right, pretty much presented this idea of what they called a decentralized system of moving money. They were not happy with the current system because basically if you want to send me money, what happens is you think you're just putting in my sort code or my account details and the money comes straight to me. But what actually happens is the money goes to the central bank, which monitors the movement, and then they release the money to me. So this person was saying, we don't have to be monitored by banks. Why can't we just move money from us, from ourselves, and from one person to the other without having to incur bank costs or waiting for large amounts of money to be released? If you think about it, for example, when you go to the bank, maybe let's say you have £20,000 and you say to them, I want to withdraw £10,000. They don't say to you, great, here's your £10,000. They start to ask you questions and they say, what do you want the money for? And then you start thinking, well, why are you asking me that? When I came to deposit the money, you never asked me that. The reason they're asking you that is it's a form of control. And so they control how money moves from one place to another. So when the concept of Bitcoin came up, it was the idea that it was not going to control us. So if Bitcoin was not going to control us, that also meant that we wouldn't have to pay those charges that we often pay banks to move money internationally, and we wouldn't have to wait sometimes 21 days to get a large amount of money. So, when Bitcoin was first introduced, what I find so funny about this is there was this guy called Roger Ver, and he loved the idea and he invested in it. But he couldn't seem to get people for a good 3-4 years to actually participate in it and to catch on to the idea. So in the end, he was going around New York trying to give this money to people for free, and people were actually refusing it. At a certain point, some people were now concerned that he'd lost it mentally and were thinking, you know what, there's this crazy guy, he's not okay upstairs, he's trying to, give people free money, it's a scam. Eventually, Bitcoin took off. Like I did mention, in 2011, that same Bitcoin was sold for $1. And then 2017, it was going for beyond the price of gold. 2020, we're doing 8,864 one Bitcoin. So around the time Roger Ver was trying to give Bitcoin away for free, somebody, I think in New York, bought 3 pizzas with 10,000 Bitcoins. And I was calculating that before I came on, and I was like, oh my God, this is scary. The person who bought those 3 pizzas, based on Bitcoin's value today, actually used $88 million to buy 3 pizzas. If that was me, I don't think I could ever eat pizza. To be honest, I think the whole thing would be so shocking to me. Potentially, I think I would never recover from it. The shock would just be too much. I might have a heart attack to think that I've eaten like $100 million away. But anyways, what's the lesson here? The lesson is that the people who get in early in business or in any form of venture are the ones who often make the most money. We find this, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it was Facebook or Amazon, like the example I used the other week. When you get in early, you make the most money. And that's why I'm trying to talk about Bitcoin now. Is it too late to get into Bitcoin now? The answer is no. It's only been in operation, in circulation for almost the last 10 years. And from where I'm seeing Bitcoin going, it has a place in our financial system, especially in Africa. And that's why I wanted to talk about Bitcoin so much today. So do you know that in Japan, actually right now, Bitcoin is considered as legal tender? So when you go into a store in Japan, you have the option to use your cards. You pay your debit card with your debit card. But what they've basically said is if you use Bitcoin, they're not going to charge you sales tax. And what they're trying to do is to create a situation in which money is just moving from one person to another. And what makes it work is because all you need to move this money is a mobile. You just need a smartphone. And what do you need to have a smartphone? Even if you live in Africa, or the worst you need is a power bank. A solar power bank. You're no longer relying on electricity. As I speak to you right now, over 120 Bitcoins are existing. And that is the original Bitcoin, which is often called the Satoshi Bitcoin, and the alternative versions. Last year, Zimbabwe was in consultation, the government, with a company called Apollo Global Management. It's a venture capitalist company, and they were talking about potentially bringing Bitcoin into Zimbabwe because, as you know, we haven't done a very good job of handling our inflation. So if we step back, say, to 2008, when we had the recession, if you think about what happened around that time, how did the government respond to these recessions? They basically said, okay, we're going to do stimulus packages, we're going to do quantitative easing. That's just fancy English words for saying we're going to print more money. But the problem is when they print more money, the money loses its value. Whereas this is what makes Bitcoin so attractive for many people, in the sense that when the money is, Bitcoin doesn't lose its value. It's been designed in such a way that there can only be 21 million Bitcoins that ever exist in the system. Bitcoin was basically designed as a copycat version of gold. The difference is gold you can keep physically, but Bitcoin is what is called a digital currency. And that is why it's called a cryptocurrency. What does the word crypto mean to you and me? It just means that it's a mathematical code that has been written or programmed into a computer that helps move money from Jane to Noktula. That mathematical code ensures that if Noktula is expecting money from Jane, the money arrives to Noktula. And if Jane is buying groceries at Sainsbury's, the money goes into the Sainsbury's account. They're all just fancy words, but just really, it's just a system of moving money, which you're already doing. A lot of us are scared about new things. We're scared of losing money. Having said that, when I look at Bitcoin, to be honest with you ladies, we don't have a choice but to participate. This is going to be the situation of either you participate or you get left behind. You're either going to participate now, or you're going to be that woman we're going to meet at parties and baby showers where you're going to be telling us that, oh yeah, I heard about it 10 years ago. Oh, it's so expensive. I wish I could afford it. So what I'm saying to people is, with where it's going right now, I think it's important that we get in on the game early. I know we all have a lot of bills to pay and stuff like that, but when it comes to situations like these, we actually need to have structure and we need to have strategy. Just like you have money to pay your bills, you have money for your holiday, you have money to save for retirement, to save for your children, you need to start planning for things like these, which are like Bitcoin that you know are going to grow in value. So if you think about recession, what is inflation? What is the impact it has on you? And as ridiculous as the whole situation is, when you think about it, imagine, especially with us where we like to keep our money safe and know where it is. If I have 10,000 and I put it under the bed and it's 2020, the current inflation rate, the average is 3%. So what that means is that next year, I'll go to, imagine if I look under the mattress and my money has gone down by 3%, which is say about $30. I'm like, I've got 9,970. And I'm like, who took my $30? A year later, 2022, I'm $30 further down. That's what inflation does. That's why we're trying to get people to invest in all these different structures so that you protect the value of your money. I took a look online as well. I did some calculations and I said, okay, 10,000 pounds 10 years ago, I didn't even look 20 years back. How much was it worth? In 2010, your 10,000 pounds, for it to buy today, what you needed to buy, you're now going to have an extra 2,900 pounds. So 10,000 pounds in 2010 is now requiring 12,000 pounds 918 to buy exactly the same items today. And that's why we need to look at other factors. So I don't want to bore you and talk too much technical stuff. I just want you to know the key factors. Bitcoin is not going away. You get to decide, are you participating or are you a spectator? Bitcoin was designed to mimic gold. There are many forms of Bitcoin, so be aware of that. At the present moment, you can buy your own Bitcoin. For example, if you're in America, you're lucky. Robinhood doesn't charge you for that. If you're in England and other parts of the world, you have Coinbase and places like Binance who will sell you that Bitcoin. Do I see us using Bitcoin a lot every day? Some forms, yes, but the original Bitcoin, no, I don't see that. That one is more of a reserve like gold. You buy it, you keep it, because the way the price of it is going up, nobody wants to go and spend it on 3 pizzas today, or I don't know, maybe buy a car with it today and find out 10 years down the road that they can actually buy a house. I wouldn't be able to take that, even if it was me. So at the end of the day, those are the things to know. And why is it so interesting to me? Why am I fascinated with it? Because in Africa right now, there are 350 million people who don't have bank accounts, but they all have mobile phones. So the future of Bitcoin is such that you and I will be able to send money to our grandmothers, and we're going to have to we'll pay minimum transaction fees. Like, for example, Binance charges 0.4%. And no, I'm not advertising Binance. I'm just giving facts. And I see Bitcoin actually putting out of business places like Western Union. Because if you think about it, Western Union, they don't have a business model without immigrants. When Western Union started, they were just moving money from one person to another in America. But they started to see a market. Chinese immigrants who were living in other parts of the world like Canada were sending money to China. Indians were doing the same thing. Africans were doing the same thing. Right now, if I want to send £100 back home, I'm paying £2.90 for it. But with things like Bitcoin, that same £100 I could, and if I send it through Binance, I'll be able to just pay 40p. Who's going to want to continue paying that? So if I'm trying to maybe send £1,000 back home, 2.90 times 10, I'm assuming would be like 29 quid. And another alternative would charge me £4. So it's a chance for us as well as Africans to take our power back. And what I love about what these decentralized currencies do, as they're called, because it's no longer going through the central bank, they're not approving whether they move your money or not, is that nobody is monitoring you. You don't have to explain to anybody why you're moving that money. Now, some people think, well, if it's so great, why hasn't it been that popular? Well, I'll take you back a few years. There used to be a website called Silk Road. And it was a black market, an online black market. You could buy anything, cocaine, you could hire prostitutes, you could hire contract killers. So if somebody upset you and you just wanted them to move to the other side of planet Earth, you could hire them. Now, unfortunately, they only took payment in one way, Bitcoin, because they felt at that time it was not trackable. Now, finally, the FBI shut down Silk Road in 2014, and then the owner of that website was jailed for life in the US. He's still in prison. So people now started associating Bitcoin with negative things. But what people forget is that money, whether it's US dollars, South African rand, Zimbabwean dollar, is used every day for negative purposes. If you want to kill your spouse, you can still do it with US dollars. If you want to pay somebody to rob a bank, you can still do it with British pounds. I'm just giving you an example. Please don't say Noctula is encouraging people to break the law. So the whole bottom line is, it's not the money that's the issue. It is the fact that how people use it. And interestingly enough, if you want to do something illegal, it's easier to do it with cash, because all you're doing is carrying the cash and giving it to somebody, whereas Bitcoin only keeps your privacy in regards to who owns the money, but it has a code that shows where the transaction has moved from one place to another. It just doesn't tell you who is at the other end of the code. But guess what's happening in the last 2 months? Who's buying the most Bitcoin, or cryptocurrency as it's called? Africans. Yes, we've finally woken up. We've realized that if we're going to make a difference in our lives and the lives of our children, we can't afford to be the people who always do something after everybody else has done it. But to be honest, it's not surprising. Do you know that when the 3G network was introduced, it was trialed in Africa first before it was rolled out to the rest of the world? Last month, I would say actually all this while, South Africa was the highest buyer of cryptocurrency and other forms of Bitcoin. But newsflash, last month we were now beaten by who? Nigeria. They are now buying the highest forms of cryptocurrency. And the one they're buying the most is Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash basically is about £200 at the moment. Sorry, $200 US. And what I like about Bitcoin Cash is that it's very responsive. In 1 minute, you can do a transaction. Traditional Bitcoin, you have to wait 10 minutes to clear that transaction. And like they say nowadays, ain't nobody got time for that. So that's where we are, guys. We're in that position where we're going to be sending money to our parents in the village. All they are going to need is a phone. That's the role Bitcoin is going to play. And the reason I'm saying that it's not going anywhere is because if you notice, governments are now trying to regulate it. Before they were like, oh no, forget about it. It doesn't exist. The people who are hating on it are now bringing the people who brought it into the system to say, hey, let's sit down and talk and see how we can regulate this. And, if you start seeing governments doing that, it means that's their own way of saying we're defeated. We can't get rid of this thing. So we might as well join them and help to control how it works. So the whole idea of this conversation is, think about it, add it to your portfolio. have that diversified portfolio, have your property, have your stocks and shares, have your gold, add the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and stuff like that. Know that as you sit down on it, you might have to wait maybe a good 10 to 5 years. Then you'll see the money really come in. Not everything in life is always going to be a hit and run. That's the bottom line here. It's not a Nollywood movie. You're not going to walk down the street and find a bag and suddenly you open the bag and there's 20 million in that bag. Would you feel okay actually even opening that bag? What if some demon jumps out of that bag or something stupid? And at the same time, the reason I'm saying this about diversifying your portfolio is please don't be like a Nollywood movie, where somebody has a business idea and then they take all their money. Every cent, put it on that idea. So take all your money, buy Bitcoin, and then you go and lose all your money. And then now we have to come and start crying with you, helping you cry. Look, I got bills to pay. The only thing I can do is help you cry. I won't be able to help pull you out of it. That's why I'm saying, I'm letting you know in advance, diversified portfolio, as in basic English, do not put all your eggs in one basket. And if you still don't understand it, think of it like a grocery store where we used to buy back home. The grocery store, they sell bread, they sell milk, they sell mazoe, they sell chicken or whatever. Why? Because if bread doesn't sell, the other's gonna sell. And so on and so on and so forth. So if you have any questions, feel free, send me a message. And I just want to let you all know, last week I was privileged to speak to 3 very amazing Zimbabwean women. And when I say amazing, I mean amazing. These women are ordinary women doing their day-to-day business. But guess what they have in common? 2 of them told me that they've already been saving for years for their son's education and their future. So we have 2 women who've been putting aside small amounts, even as low as £50, to make sure that their children will be able to have down payments in the future. If you're not one of those women, it's not too late to start. It is not too late to start. And Rachel, yes, I would be more than happy to do gold. Have a conversation about that in the future. In case you don't know, I used to be a gold miner. Most of my money, I made it in gold. And to be honest with you, man, the money is good. The money is good. But you have to be the type who's not afraid, because spending a month with 22 men in the bush and you're the only woman there is not for the faint-hearted. But when you make $250,000 in 1 year, nobody's going to have to send you to the bush. You yourself are going to be asking people, when is the next day we're going out to the bush to find some gold? So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So sisters, thank you so much. So if you're not saving for your children at the moment, please start thinking about it. And if you tell yourself that you don't have money, I'm going to be doing £100 a month challenge for June. So next week, I'm going to be talking about how you can actually find £100 a month, not in your budget, online. And it's not going to take you more than, I would say, maybe 20 minutes a day. Period. So I look forward to speaking to you all, to getting to know you all. I have a page, it's called Master Your Money. Please go on that page or send me a comment. Let me know that this is making a difference. If I tell you how much time I spend preparing this information, you would think I'm lying. I come in and I have to basically make the most of half an hour and just download quickly. So sometimes you're going to have to replay the stuff to finally get it. So to all my sisters out there, and yes, to the brothers too, because I hear some guys are listening to me, I wish you the best. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Once again, happy Africa Day, happy bank holiday. Enjoy your wine and drinks. Bye-bye.